Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, and welcome to another Cutter Top 10 Christmas themed Top 10, not sports related, but anyway. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to this Top 10, and we're going to be going way back as I try my best not to overanalyze the Simpsons Top 10 Christmas episodes of all time. This will not be an easy one because of the fact that now I got to rank these things. So now, I didn't find a good number 10 in essence. There were a couple, so I'm going to say the two trilogies. Like Simpsons went through a couple holiday trilogies that were actually pretty cool. The first one was when, you know, the first part of the first trilogy was when Reverend Lovejoy bemoans losing his model trains in an accident, and Ned, wearing the priest stuff underneath his normal clothes, gets to lead in the sermon, but cuts his finger on the gilded pages of the Bible. So Homer steps in and tells the story about the baby in the manger. Like Bart plays baby Jesus, Homer plays Joseph, Marge plays Mary, and Lisa plays Gabriel the angel, which gives them a child. And of course, Mr. Burns plays the emperor who's jealous of this baby, ruining him, and sends people trying to destroy the baby, but doesn't do so. And then the second part of the trilogy was when Homer and when Grandpa and Mr. Burns are actually stranded on an island. They find Santa Claus, they shoot down Santa Claus, and Burns takes off with Santa's stuff and all that. And then, Grandpa helps Santa get off the island, and Santa said he would come back for Grandpa, but Grandpa was all by himself, and thankfully he made a jet ski out of coconuts and got out before the kind of when the war ended. And Santa said he kept putting it off and forgetting all about Abe, but thankfully it's okay. And then the third part of that trilogy was the Nutcracker Suite sent to Simpsons stuff and all that. And then there was another trilogy that saw Bart go to the North Pole via the Polar Express to yell at Krusty for giving him socks for Christmas. Santa Krusty says that, times are tough and all that. And then gets Bart to accept the socks for what they are. Of course, Santa Krusty lies to Bart's face. So anyway, I can't remember the other parts of that trilogy and all that. One part had Katy Perry in it, but anyway, doesn't matter. So we got that one. Number 9 is Skinner's sense of. So number 9 is Skinner's sense of snow. So in this season, 12 episodes, the kids are forced to go to school, even though that there was a massive snowstorm that cancels a lot of places, including the power plant. But some parents don't allow their kids to go to school, so Skinner keeps his Cal Ripken like streak of school openings, and everyone's just gathered in one room watching a 1930s Christmas movie. Unfortunately, they get snowed in, and Skinner tells them there's no escape. So Bart tries to make a tunnel to escape and all that. Skinner then realizes the kids are not listening to him, so he goes back into drill sergeant mode until he gets snowed in by the fact that he destroyed Bart's tunnel, saying that it's a bad idea and all that. So that's what happened. But then he's put in a volleyball ball sack. Laugh all you want, but and then pelted with volleyballs, and the students go nuts, burning literature, putting mustaches on presidents, and all that. They were doing a lot of things. In the meantime, Homer and Ned pair up to try to get the kids out because all the snowplows have been bought by Mr. Burns. And of course, Ned references Mr. Plow, and Homer says, "I don't recall that. You're wearing the jacket." And then Homer recites the Mr. Plow jingle. Now, there's a good reason. It's because Homer probably, with the way that Homer lost his plow, with the global warming and him forgetting to pay for the plow, he's probably just hurt and all that. But anyway, they do manage to get everyone out of school quickly. Superintendent Chalmers yells at Skinner. Bart tries to explain himself. Chalmers takes it as it is. Um. Okay. All right. So number 8 is Grift of the Magi. The previous season, season 11, saw this episode happen. One day, Bart and Milhouse cross dress, and then they're bouncing up and down on Homer's bed, and then startled by Homer, Bart falls and cracks his back or his butt on Homer's bowling ball, and Homer demands Milhouse and Bart with an explanation why they're wearing women's clothing. We're drunk. Oh, okay, that's fine. So Bart is put in a wheelchair. Skinner thinks it's a prank. Can't blame him. But, Fat Tony comes up and says he can make the school wheelchair accessible, and Skinner says we're one step closer to the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1973 because they don't have any disabled students and all that. Unfortunately, at the same time, Bart's injury has healed. Unfortunately, all the rents are breadsticks. Fat Tony ends up stealing all the money from the school, and practically the school has to shut down. Everyone cheers. The parents try to figure out a way to get the school back open. Marge suggests that Mr. Burns do something about it, but Homer says, forget it. He releases the hounds for everything, including release the hounds. So they try to get him with a school play, but it doesn't work. However, Kid First Industries buys the school and opens it up, but they basically trick the children into making a toy and all that. Lisa's skeptical because she got detention for actually doing real schoolwork instead of the fun work everyone else, and Ralph probably sucking up to the teacher. So, anyways, she discovers Funzo, but Kid First realizes it and then puts the school back to normal, making Lisa a liar. But Funzo comes through as a toy, and it destroys every other toy, even pre-existing toys like Malibu Stacy and Krusty. So it's basically trying to get rid of the competition, like Microsoft. Gary Coleman works as a security guard. Lisa and Bart get past him. They get angry and all that, but then they realize that the Funzo craze is too much to handle, so they hire Homer to steal everyone's Funzos. Gary Coleman tracks them down, and then they talk through the night and realize that Christmas is a mixed blessing. Fortunately for Springfield, the school is open because Mr. Burns found some money in his tuxedo pocket thanks to the ghosts from A Christmas Carol. All right, let's see. What one would be next on my list? Because there are some good ones. Um, okay, I got this one. Number 7 is going to be a little controversial, but I'm going to go with this. Holidays of Future Past. This was the episode in which Marge tries to get the kids to take a holiday picture and say, this would be good for your kids, and they both scoff saying they're not going to have kids. And then they show a 20-year photo time lapse of the family and all that. Marge and Homer finally get rid of their 3 kids and have fun together. Maggie is um, I like no, ironically known as the greatest singer of her generation because we never hear her speak. And she's pregnant with one of the band members' kids, kid, and doesn't know who it is. The pregnancy is so bad that Maggie's not allowed to speak, and she has a second pacifier. Kind of funny. Lisa ends up married to Milhouse and has a daughter, Senda, I think her name is, but I can't remember. It started with a C. But basically, the daughter always goes to the internet and all that. And Lisa tries to think, why is she like my brother, as in Bart? Milhouse then says, don't worry, they made her the best DNA, nothing of mine. Milhouse is this guy who's kind of plumpy and all that. And unfortunately, Milhouse can't go to a Christmas thing at Homer and Marge's because of the fact that he's allergic to a lot of Christmas things. This guy just keeps getting all the breaks. And then the worst part was in 20 years after things, most states are under Shiite law. So Milhouse has to wear a burqa to Michigan. So yeah, and Bart ends up as a loser who lives in one of the Springfield elementary rooms, which is now a condo building, but Skinner is the superintendent and all that. But yeah, Bart has 2 children from his relationship with Jenda, but they're broken up and all that because of Bart not stepping up to play for the kids, and he gets the kids in agreement. So they go over to Homer and Marge's. Homer is sober completely and would trade everything for a drink. Marge tells Lisa to bake cookies and don't talk about your child. Bart and Lisa have a talk in the treehouse, and basically, Bart tells Lisa she's a great mother and basically a better parent than Bart will ever be. The two kids, Kirk and Picard, go with Homer to see Grandpa, and basically Homer tells them that their father's a screw up, but he still loves you, which is true, and all that. Lisa couldn't help but pry into her daughter's life and all that, but we see things, praising Lisa, but we all find out that it's just a ruse, as Senda knew offhand that Lisa was going to come calling and hides everything, her real thing from her. But they get a picture. This was supposed to be the series finale because there was some contract problems, but didn't happen. All right, let's see here. Number six is Number six, Miracle on Evergreen Terrace from season 9. This was the episode in which um, there's Christmas going on. Homer and Marge trick people into giving Christmas presents to them through a line in the try and save. And it's supposed to be a good Christmas. Marge tells the family, we're going to celebrate Christmas together at 7 o'clock. No alarm clocks and all that. Bart tries to drink lots of water so that he wake up and beat the rush and all that. Surprised that Lisa didn't do that same thing too. But Bart manages to pull it off and then plays with his toy, which was a fire truck. Unfortunately, though, the fire truck sprays water on the electrical panel and everything goes up in flames. And it melts the presents. So Bart rushes to bury the Christmas tree and the presents that were melted. And of course, in real life, this would not have happened because, well, there would have been a smoke detector. I'm sure one of the Simpsons would have realized something was fishy and woke up early. Anyway, Bart pretends like a robber robbed them. The town gives them money and all that, $15,000, which they waste on a car that crashes through a lake. Bart is actually feeling guilt because some orphans even give him money. So he doesn't know what to do. But then the tree is unearthed by Santa's little helper, and they think that the town thinks that the Simpsons were just goading people into presents and all that. So they basically make the Simpsons pariahs and all that. But then they decide to go to the Simpson house and take everything of value because then that would give them the $15,000 and then some. I mean, the Simpsons home, everything's worth just $17,000. That's how poor they are. But they bond over a rag. Um, hmm. Let's see here. I'm gonna go. Okay, here we go. Number 6 is Kill Gil from season 18. This episode is when the Simpsons go to a holiday thing and Homer gets into it with a thing called the Grumpo, stealing Christmas spirit. Elvis Stoico makes an appearance. Patty and Selma fawn over him, but Mo says that Elvis Stoico is gay because he's a male figure skater. And Elvis Stoico says, that's a stereotype. I have a girlfriend in Vancouver. I knew it. Fake city, fake girlfriend. But then, they go to Cossington's. Lisa wants a certain Malibu Stacy thing, and Gil, dressed up as Santa Claus, gives it to her, but it's supposed to be for Cossington's daughter, and he gets fired on the spot. Marge sees that and invites Gil over for Christmas meal, and then allows Gil to stay because of how cold it is. Grandpa wants to stay, but Homer pushes him out the door. But anyhow, Gil figured that he's got a place to stay, so he takes everything out of the bus locker and stays at Evergreen Terrace and overstays his welcome massively. Homer finally starts to snap a little bit by January with Gil still around and tells Marge, you just have that inability to say no. And Marge realized the story that she didn't help Patty and Selma hide their cigarettes and get stuffed in her dollhouse, and it's some kind of psychological push and all that. I actually questioned that I'm like, Marge has said no on several occasions. However, people said no, like the no to someone in need, probably. So anyhow, Marge can't say no. Homer wants to kick Gil out, but Lenny and Carl says that Marge has to be the one that says no. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. So anyway, Gil interrupts Valentine's Day snuggling. He almost goes to Scottsdale, but his foot doctor calls and says some stuff. In March, St. Patrick's Day, Gil invites his quote unquote friends over, who are basically homeless bums and all that, other than Kirk Van Houten. So he really overstays his welcome. It goes to September. He steals the kids' lunches, and then by Thanksgiving, March finally is at a boiling point. And even worse, Gil put up a Christmas card of the family without Marge, and Marge finally snaps. She wants to tell him no, but Gil moved to Scottsdale. She does tell Homer no to $1,000. Homer burns it, but Homer says, "Don't worry, I make 6 of these a year." Dude makes $500 a month? Well, there's a lot to deconstruct, but I'm not going to do that. It's not the time or place. So anyway, Marge, for some strange reason, decides to go to Scottsdale to confront Gil about the problems, even though that Gil's successful. Unfortunately, though, she makes Gil quiver, and then basically Gil gets fired. So Marge decides to buy a place in Scottsdale to give Gil his job back. So that's what happens. I think that's number 6. I think I mixed up my numbers. I did mix up my numbers. Kill Gil is supposed to be number 5. My fault. Let me look here. What would be number 4? I'm gonna go with Tis the okay. Here we go. Number 4 is Tis the 15th season from season 15. This one is when Homer ends up getting a Joe DiMaggio card instead of a Christmas bonus and all that. He sells it to the comic book guy who gives Homer everything in his register, and they go on a shopping spree in the upscale part of town. Bart actually learns is happy burning down state capitals, but then he realizes it's trying to learn him. So he kicks the console, saying, "That'll teach you to try to teach me." And then, of course, Homer ends up buying an astrolabe instead of a Christmas tree, and his selfishness gets him kicked to the couch and all that. And then the Mr. Magoo Christmas Carol teaches him he needs to be nice. So he tries to be nice to everybody, gives a better present to Lenny than just breath mints. He gives Marge less pork chop. He gives homeless people his old clothes, although they do complain that it's worse than what they got. So anyway, he does all that. Ned is a little bit jealous, especially when Homer outdoes him in tiffing, like getting the money from the church. Ron and Todd talk to him. Todd says, "Daddy, are you jealous of brother Homer?" "Well, I guess I am." And Rod pops up saying, "I'm jealous of girls because they get to wear dresses." "One problem at a time, boy." So anyway, Homer even opens up a backyard skating rink, and Nelson gets under Ned's skin by saying, "Ha ha, you've been usurped, you're sad at Christmas." So Ned decides to give everyone in town a present, although that Principal Skinner questions it. "You're unaware there's an allowance." I actually rented out a couple bedrooms to a sorority. "Stay out of our medicine cabinet." Homer sees this and decides to buy everyone a car. How? Not everyone Springfield drives. Lisa even says that as a Buddhist, I don't believe in presents and all that. So Homer thinks about it, and Buddha gives him some advice. So Homer decides to steal all of Ned's presents. The only problem is, of course, how does he know which one's Ned's? And also, people may have opened that present. So he steals everyone's presents just to be on the safe side. I don't know why. So basically, he sets fire to it, but then everyone in Springfield basically pelts him with snowballs. Even Lisa, she was the one who gave him the idea. Why would Lisa be a bitch about it? But then there's a star, which was a Flair House moment. Sean Ned realizes he may have influenced Homer's decision, and then basically everything goes according to plan. Number 3 is She of Little Faith, season 13. Speaking of Buddhist, so anyhow, after watching a commercial, Bart and Milhouse want a certain rocket. They try to build it. It busts on them. Milhouse's eyebrows end up on Bart's face, which obviously can't happen. So anyway, Homer gets Benjamin, Doug, and Gary from the college episode to help him out. They bring Nibbles as an astronaut. Unfortunately, the rocket goes off course, and Homer shoots it shoots at it, gets it, but it burns into the church. And Marge tells Homer, "This is the worst thing you've ever done." And Homer scoffs, saying, "You say that so much, it's lost meaning." So practically, the church has to rebuild. Mr. Burns decides to help the church rebuild the church, but he wants some changes as in commercialization. Lisa's upset, even though the town's happy because it's a place to be. They can fill the pews, and the pews are lovely. Lisa says it's apt, and says she's never coming back to the church. Marge tries to get Lisa to go back to the church, saying, "I want one of us to get into heaven," worried that everyone's going to happen. Lisa says, "I'm sure there's a better path to him or her. Her, she's just kidding, Mr. God." Marge overreacting or panicking. Marge, then Lisa walks through different faiths, finds Buddhism thanks to Richard Gere, and says she's a Buddhist. Ned is so appalled, he sends the kids to a safe room, and basically everyone gets mad, including the bullies, Dolph, Kearney, and Jimbo, saying that, Lisa's doing bad. And then basically they describe Jesus, but they describe um, Jimbo's mom's boyfriend. Although Bart points out, "I thought Kearney was dating your mom." "Whoa, she came on to me." And they all pound him, including Bart. Burns wants to um, bankrupt the church, saying, "You're not getting my money," but he ends up giving him money. And then their next mission is to turn Lisa out of Buddhism. Lisa has a Bodhi tree. Homer tries to put an angel on it, like a Christmas angel, but it's with dogs barking jingle bells. Marge tries to get her out of her funk, but no. So they play a Christmas thing to get Lisa on the winning side, and says that Lisa will finally get her pony because it was too late for Santa to realize she's a Buddhist. Just when she's about to lick a candy cane Maggie presents to her, she finds Reverend Lovejoy outside the window and realizes she's being tricked. So she runs to the Buddhist temple, which Richard Gere tells her that it's okay to be multi-faith if you have to. You can be Buddhist, but you can believe in Christmas for your family's sake. So that's what she does. She says, though, that she'll pay lip service to the church and all that, and wants her pony, but Marge deflects it. Number 2, speaking of Marge, that episode is Marge Be Not Proud from season 7. So Marge Be Not Proud is the episode in which Bart gets embarrassed by Marge's tuck-in thing and says that Marge is lame and all that. So he's actually enthralled by a commercial for Bone Storm. A video game says, "Buy me Bone Storm or go to hell." That's what they say. Marge says it's a distraction from your schoolwork. It costs $70, and it's violent. But that's not going to give me the game. So Bart finds out that Milhouse has a copy and wants to play. Milhouse says no, it's one player. Why does it say second player score? "Mom, Bart's swearing," and kicks him out. So anyway, Bart goes to try and save, trying to guilt someone to buying him the video game. This guy named Gavin gets 2, one for him and one for his sister. I'm not sharing with Caitlin. And then, Bart is influenced by video game mascots to buy the game. Lee Trevino's counterpart, Lee Trevino, says it's not going to help you with your putting because Lee Trevino's putting challenge is sitting untouched. As cats are meowing in the background. So anyway, Bart actually takes the game from the display, but it's caught by a security guard and basically tells him to stay away from try and save, and gives a answering machine, gives a message to Marge and all that, but it's on their answering machine. So Bart races home to catch the answering machine and puts it with "Hello, Mudda." "Hello, Fudda. Here I am at Camp Granada. Marge, did we send Lisa to Camp Granada?" So Bart thinks he's in the clear, but they're getting a family picture, a try and save, and Bart tries everything to get out of it, but can't. And just when they're ready to take the picture and all that, the security guard manages to catch Bart and yanks him off screen, and then shows Bart stealing the game. Bart does come clean to Marge, but doesn't realize that he puts it on all the TVs for everyone to see. So basically, he can't hide. Homer goes bonkers on Bart. Bart figured that Marge was going to blow a gasket, but she doesn't. He kind of realizes that Marge's silence is more deadly than yelling at him. Because, how Marge may have been very disappointed and realizes he's let Marge down. Marge decides that Bart's not her special little guy anymore and doesn't wake him up or says he can wake himself up. He can put the marshmallow in his cocoa. Bart's a little dependent on Marge. Bart tells Milhouse he doesn't know how his mom feels. But then Milhouse gets rid of Bone Storm for this ball in a cup. But Bart, instead of getting Bone Storm, decides to be jealous of Milhouse and wants the ball in the cup. He comes back from Milhouse's. They build a snowman family without him. He tries to with the snow under the car, fails, and then Nelson, Nelson and Jimbo kind of asked him to shoplift too, because Nelson did shoplift a new Fast and Jimbo football under his skull cap. Bart then realizes he needs to go try and save himself, and then Marge corners him. He gives a present of himself. The pitcher with paid in full on the pitcher. So basically, Marge gives him a present. Bart thinks he's getting Bone Storm, but he gets Lee Gravino's putting challenge. He fakes happiness, knowing that he doesn't want to hurt Marge. I think that the salesman kind of faked him out because he didn't have any pitcher. So Bart plays the game and rage quits. And number one, by far, come on, you really think this wasn't going to happen? It is Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, Season 1. So what ends up happening in Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire is the first ever episode, December 17th, 1989. And this episode is when Homer and Marge try to run to the school for the Christmas pageant. Lisa's grade 2 class does Santas Around the World. Janie does one from Germany. Ralph does one, the Ralph with the great voice instead of the squeaky voice that says, I'm special. So Ralph does one from Japan, and Lisa does the Santa from the South Seas in kind of a leotard, a flesh-colored one. And then Bart's grade 4 class sings Jingle Bells, but Bart's lyrics is Jingle Bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, the Batmobile lost its wheel, the Joker got away, and then gets yanked off stage. Lisa wants a pony. That's the only thing on her Christmas list, even though Marge tells her that Santa can't really put a pony on the sled. And Bart asks for a tattoo because it makes it look cool. Homer doesn't get his Christmas bonus. Marge has the Christmas money hidden in her beehive. They go out, but Bart wants a tattoo badly. And unfortunately, Marge has to use all the Christmas money to get the tattoo removed. Homer realizes the money's gone and says Christmas is canceled. And Marge says, don't worry, we'll get your Christmas ones. We have to stretch it. However, Homer didn't get it, and he can't tell Marge. So he decides to buy him Christmas presents, instead buying like pantyhose for Marge, which is fine, like $4 pantyhose. Pads of paper for Bart, maybe he'll have fun with it. Probably spitballs and all that. And we don't know what he got for Lisa, but Maggie, it was this squeaky toy for dogs. So anyway, yeah, Patty and Selma come in basically wanting a Christmas tree. Homer swipes one from someone's farm with a birdhouse as an ornament, as he calls it. He goes into Santa training just to make some extra money. And unfortunately, he only gets $13 gross after losing money for benefits, which he doesn't really get help with. Bart exposes Homer inadvertently, but only to him, not to Marge, Lisa, or the rest of the family. And then Barney tells Homer to use his $13 to bet on a dog named Whirlwind. Homer is unsure, and Bart tells him that basically Christmas specials have taught him, like the Smurfs, Charlie Brown, and Tiny Tim have taught him that Christmas miracles are possible. So they go to the dog track. Homer thinks about betting on Whirlwind, but then bets on Santa's Little Helper, who's a 99 to 1 to win, thinking that it's a Christmas theme. Unfortunately, Santa's Little Helper is so bad as a greyhound, Homer and Bart rage quit before he even finishes. But they get Santa's Little Helper because the owner is pissed off that he keeps getting lost so many times. So basically, Bart wants to keep Santa's Little Helper, but Homer says he's pathetic. He's a loser. He's a Simpson. And then basically Homer tries to explain why he didn't get his Christmas bonus, but Bart barges and says, hey, look what we got, a dog. Everyone's happy. Patty and Selma are groaning, but Homer saves Christmas. And then they sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer over the credits, but Bart and Lisa ruin it, and then Bart gets strangled. So anyway, that's Christmas. And hey, I beat my 30-minute projection, so that's good. Anyway, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. I'm Jeff Diamond.